Right, for more on this, we're joined by Mpumelelo Zikalala, a legal expert. Very good evening to you. Thank you for your time. For almost a year, Mpumelelo Thaba Bester lived the life of a free man. Today we saw him in court. He even wanted a moment to address the court this afternoon. What's your legal analysis on what's transpired today?
Certainly, you are going to have him wanting to say a few things, even either through his legal representative or on his own. The perception being, I want to put my side of the story. I want to set myself as a person who's innocent. However, I must always go back to what the law says. Now, the Correctional Services Act is very clear. If you're a detainee, a person who's been incarcerated, you should stay in jail. If you try and escape, you're going to be charged with trying to escape from prison. The Correctional Services Act takes care of that. However, if there are additional charges, then have to come back to court. And if you so believe that you are innocent, there are bail proceedings that you have to apply for. In his case, it's not going to be successful because he is incarcerated already. But with other demands that he might have had, for example, when it comes to food and all those things, unfortunately, those are not applicable to him. They are only applicable to a person who is not deemed as a detained prisoner, someone who still can be free at the end of the day. For someone who's been convicted and been sent to jail, unfortunately does not have a choice as to what type of food that he should eat or not eat.
Mm-hmm. And because we really heard a lot of the bail conversation, him saying that he won't be applying for bail, and that in itself was it stood out, because how would he even qualify for bail to begin with, because he's a convicted criminal?
Not at all. Unless if he's going to come and say, you have the wrong person here. I'm not who you say I am. I'm a completely different person. I've never been incarcerated. I've never been to jail. So what are those provisions, or why are you saying that I'm the appropriate person to be here? But then again, the Correctional Services Act is very clear when it comes to the identification of prisoners. It says, as you are booked in, you are then go on a process where they even check your height, they will check your fingerprints, they will check whether there are any recognizable body or identifying features within your body, for example, tattoos and scars, which can then be able to determine whether you are really the person that you say you are. I would assume on that basis that DNA would also be taken, and it is that DNA which would assist correctional services when they say, this is the type of person that you are talking about. If they haven't done so, then it means there's a huge loophole and huge non-compliance with applicable legislation. And certainly there are individuals that need to be held accountable. However, in being able to prove that he is the correct person or type of person as they say he is, the record which will appear in his personal file, they should be able to deal with that. And I don't think there's any defense in which he's going to come up with, which is plausible. We don't know what defense that it comes up with at a later stage. But for now, there are very slim success of him being successful in any application in which he's going to make.
Yeah. I mean, you touched a little bit on this, but we know that he'd spoken about not having eaten for over 24 hours out of fear for his safety. I mean, is it even a factor, his safety? I mean, this is a man that we're still to hear more from. Is that something that will be considered on those grounds, just for safety, that we need to hear more of what transpired, how it transpired?
I would say to a certain extent, depending on how we want to look at it. Now, we can't run away from the fact that he could not have orchestrated this if it is indeed true that he is the correct individual on his own. You have to have had someone on the inside, someone who occupies a high echelon of correctional services or that particular facility that he was incarcerated in, to participate in the whole process. Now, what you want, or what the ministers definitely want, is to say, we want to root out all the rotten apples at this stage, especially within those high echelons. Tell us who assisted you. Tell us who you orchestrated this grand, brilliant plan with, so that you can be able to hold them accountable. Maybe on that basis, the minister can then say, make sure that you are able to provide and secure this individual, because it might be needed at the end of the day. But even if that's not the case, at the end of the day, he's now been regarded from an inmate that would have received minimum security, who someone is going to receive maximum security, due to him having escaped before and all the other crimes that he had committed before, which would begs the question of saying, why wasn't he classified as a maximum prisoner in the first place? Someone was committed so many deaths, someone who has committed so many rapes, not allegations, but individuals or cases that have been able to be proved in court, and someone is serving a conviction for that. Surely, when he entered prison on that first day after his conviction, his classification should have said that you are dealing with someone who is very dangerous, hence all the security measures that have to be around him has got to be someone of that particular caliber. Now, in this case, it has been clear someone has escaped before, apply the maximum security that there is applicable, and that would include what type of food are you eating so that you are able to extract the truth from you and you're able to defend yourself at the end of the day. Yeah. I'm pretty sure correctional services do not want a body to be on their hands or someone to die on their hands. The only thing that they want is someone who's going to speak the truth so that they're able to root out the rotten apples within their systems.
I mean, this entire case in itself has been a massive eye-opener. It's given us some insight into the inner workings of South Africa's criminal justice system, but it's only displayed perhaps symptoms of a much larger problem.
Definitely, and taking what has been taking place in Parliament in the last 2 days, it has certainly been an eye-opener. Firstly, when it comes to compliance with the Correctional Services Act, when it comes to contract management with G4S, when it comes in the manner in which inmates are supposed to be treated and the preferential treatment that some of them are actually dealing with. And I think we've only scraped the underbelly of the corruption world when it comes to prisoners that are maybe taken out to do criminal activities and then come back within the facility. Because whilst it has taken place, even if you do find those fingerprints, a person is going to have an alibi to say that I was arrested at this particular point in time, which may be a solution or maybe an answer to why we have so many unanswered or unresolved cases in which the police or investigating officers are failing to crack. It may be these type of symptoms which may be taking place. So it's certainly a much grander or much bigger investigation that has to be done by our departments, especially when it comes to the Ministry of Police and also Correctional Services, to say, are we really securing those convicts? Are they being monitored? Is it easy for someone to simply buy their freedom out of correctional services just because they have money? Let's really look into this. And most importantly, which was a question which was raised yesterday, this thing of lifestyle audits needs to be conducted on a regular basis, just so you know that the person is not being influenced by money and they're able to provide their service purely out of their allegiance to what they've been employed to do and in line with what they've been employed to do.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's important that you raise those aspects, because Home Affairs Minister Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi also revealed that Bester was never officially documented as a South African citizen with the Department of Home Affairs. I suppose it then begs the question, how many more Thabo Besters are out there?
On a bigger scale, you have the question of saying, when it comes to stock taking, my apologies in using prisoners as stock or as materials or as items. However, if you are serving or someone is within your particular facility, then how is it that at the end of the day, someone is not going to be able to know who is in that particular prison? You must have a system in which you are going to say, I have Mr. So-and-so who is in prison, in this particular prison, who's able to do and conduct these particular facilities, and this is how they've been incarcerated, or this is how long they're going to stay. How can you have a prisoner that you don't even have their ID numbers? You don't even have a reference number in which you are then able to allocate who they are. When it comes to census, for example, how is it that you are able to allocate when it comes to things like your budget? How much food should you bring into a particular prison? How much items, whether it's bath soaps or any other materials which is required? Then it begs the questions. When it comes to the actual running of prisons, the business of the business, how then do you calculate all those items in the budgets which are allocated when you don't even know who's supposed to be here and who's not supposed to be here? I would have expected that, in fact, in line with the Correctional Services Act, it says when a person comes into prison, you must have their headshots, their full body shots, even when it comes to their fingerprints. If a person does not have an ID, let's assist them so that they're able to be identified as a person that would have an ID number. You can't have a situation where you have a prisoner and they don't even have an ID number. If they go and do something which is wrong and something which is against the law, how is it that you're going to be able to find them at the end of the day?
And very lastly, Mpumelelo, what stands out for you in terms of significance on how government is handling and dealing with this entire matter?
It's the lack of non-compliance of how they've been caught napping in certain instances, especially when it comes to compliance with the law. Secondly, it's the fear of saying, please don't make a mishap within the investigation of this particular matter. We are dealing with people's lives. People were raped and people were killed, and they need to see justice being served. And the reopening of this particular matter of being told that a person cannot or has escaped from prison, it simply says the police are not doing their job and someone must be fired for that. But most importantly, hold individuals accountable. Someone must be fired for allowing Mr. Bester to go out of prison there must be some sort of justice which is going to be obtained for the victims. And the only way in which you can do that is to say, let us root out those individuals or officials that cannot do their jobs, and let us bring in people who will be able to manage this prison correctly. And also from a financial side, go and review the contract of G4S and simply say, your primary goal was to make sure that these individuals are incarcerated. If you have failed to do so, it means that you have failed to provide your service. And if you cannot come up with a plausible explanation, and the only explanation would be, it was circumstances due to beyond our control, and it was something that has not been foreseen, or that you could not be able to handle, or even an act of God. Only in those instances you could then say G4S were able to provide the service. But if they can't, then go out and allow other individuals with better capabilities who are not going to let incarcerated prisoners out of jail to do or to run those particular facilities that you are referring to.
Yeah, very well. Thank you so much. Thanks for weighing in on this discussion.